four-time Miss Olympia Jay Cutler. Welcome to my channel, Jay Cutler TV, and make sure to stay in tune with the newest and updated videos. Subscribe below, guys. Thank you so much for following along.
All right, Doc, we're on.
Number 3, Dave and Dr. Rand. Love the Q&As. Me too.
Yes.
I'm a 33-year-old Canadian, friend of yours,
No.
on TRT, topical androgel. Been on TRT for just over 5 years due to a thyroid and pituitary issue. Here in Canada, TRT is hardly mentioned and doctors know next to nothing about it. I recently had a discussion with my specialist on fertility and getting my wife pregnant. This is the one I was telling you about. I was basically told that I should look to adopt as it is impossible due to the length of time I have been on TRT. Wow.
Shaking
Normally
your head
I
already.
would have said something diplomatic about doctors in Canada, and I still will. But this particular doctor in Canada to whom you're referring, boy, this is why I got excited. This is bad because you might not have chosen to have kids. Even the fertility specialist said it was basically impossible. Okay, I guess that makes 2 doctors in Canada. Here's the catch. I haven't done any tests, sperm count, etc. to confirm infertility. TRT is a hot potato topic here in Canada and just gets tossed onto the next doctor. Okay.
Why is that? Why do you think they do that?
I don't know, man, but I want to make it perfectly clear. I have never, and I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant before I'm a doctor, right? So I'm presumably honest and conservative. I have never, in seeing, in at least 20,000 patients, I've never seen a case where someone was on TRT, became infertile, and could not, for physiological reasons, get fertile again. Never seen it.
Wow.
Now, I will throw in there for psychological reasons, I've seen some people not do it because they say, I don't want to wait another 3 months to get fertile again. Whether they've, brought 3 more projects on board and, there's a million and one reasons. They're feeling great, they don't want to feel rotten again, just put it in simple terms. Or don't want to function the way they functioned before they started TRT. Mm-hmm. But no, this is, I hope this guy's listening and still wants to have children because this should be fixable. If you want to be sure you can have kids and regain your fertility, and he says, we don't even know if he's lost his fertility.
Yeah, he was taking their word.
Know.
I know, right.
There's some guys that are fertile Freds and some guys that aren't. I've seen a good buddy of mine in his early 60s, father twins. It took him 9 months. Yeah.
Wow.
But he had some other things going on. He at the time he was diagnosed with MS.
Wow.
I have another friend, a patient, 63, fathered also twins. Interestingly.
Wow.
And all he did was he backed off on his TRT from 200 milligrams a week to 100 milligrams a week and threw in HCG, 500 IU every other day. And within like 6 weeks, he got his wife pregnant.
Wow.
And yes, I mean, I have to say this because there's people out there that go, well, how do you know it was him? He had a paternity test because unfortunately there was other issues that came up and they weren't getting along and they were his. So
wow.
It can happen at 63.
I want to know how old the wife is. That's what I want to know. She's 62?
She was in her late 30s, I think.
Okay. Nice.
Both of them. I think the other one was in maybe mid-30s, the 2 that I'm referring to.
Nice.
But anyway, and I have had the great pleasure of meeting and working with Dr. Lipschultz out of Baylor University, and he literally wrote the book on fertility, a book on fertility, and he's had great success over and over again. He uses more ACG than I used to. Now I follow his protocols because I've seen him work wonders. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to steal any of his thunder, but. Go see him if you need more help with fertility or anything. I mean, he's one of the godfathers of this medicine. So, I would first of all get the test to see what the semen analysis says.
Right.
Duh,
They may
right?
not be a problem.
Not to be rude, but I mean, that's the first start.
Yeah.
And then if you need to work on fertility, one thing you can do is try just incorporating HCG into your program, and see if after say 3 months, you become fertile again. And you can do serial tests every 3 months. By the way, the lifespan of a sperm is roughly 74 to 76 days. At any rate, maybe every 3 months you see, okay, how am I doing? And then if at some point, depends on what your timeline is, you decide, okay, I really should hunker down and make sure, we get pregnant here. Start by backing off on some of the testosterone replacement. Your body will start producing some of its own endogenous testosterone, and it won't, at some point anyway, make up for the exogenous. Otherwise, we would have put you on HCG more likely to begin with.
Right.
But and I forgot. Did you say how old he is? 33 years old. So anyway, there's probably some endogenous production out there for sure. But you try and bridge the gap and find a balance that works for you. It's all about making life easy and getting at the cheese, right? Getting to work. At some point, you might have to come off T in completely. But did I talk about the conversation I had with Dr. Lipschultz at one point about the HCG and desensitization of Leydig cells?
No.
All right. Well, this is kind of a funny story, but apropos to this, I got to shadow Dr. Lipschultz, and we had a break in the day, and I was telling him about the legend that I've heard of desensitizing Leydig cells with any more than 500 IUs of HCG every day. And so I've always been very careful to even save some arrows in the quiver by trying not to approach that level, because who wants to lose that leverage if you ever need it, and only bring out the max dose if you have to, right? So anyway, I go through the whole story, and I've done a lot of research in my time, have access to different libraries through friends of mine, and I can do what we call a deep dive, and I have yet to find, and I'm telling him all this almost like this, I've yet to find any study to back up this legend. And he keeps looking at me, he's quiet, he's a super nice guy the whole time. And finally I stop and I go, so what do you think? He just goes, legend. And again, this is the godfather of this legend. So anyway, I don't want to give away too much without his permission, but let's just say that subsequent to that discussion later in the day, he was prescribing much larger doses of HCG than 500 IU a day, because it's a complete fallacy. And this is part of the thing in medicine that if you're not careful, you can buy into yourself. And I did for years, always in the background, adding the caveat that that's our current belief, even though we don't have any basis for it, and that's what gets carried on. But I would suggest certainly increasing HCG levels. You could go as much as 3,000. And I shouldn't, I don't mean to be practicing medicine, curbside service on the air or anything like that without knowing. But let's just say there are cases where you could use 3,000 IU every other day of HCG, if that's what's needed to get those puppies back online. And there's other ways to do it than HCG. It's just I think it's the most comfortable and expedient method. You could drop TRT completely and go in Clomid, which, I won't go into all the technicals because most people who are listening to this already know, but you can get your own signal from the pituitary to the testicles to be up and running again, to get testosterone created again, and therefore activate the star Toy cells, etc. So, well, he says, I'm hoping you could shed some light on fertility while on TRT, and then hopefully some possible courses of action or protocols that could potentially work. Again, I got to be careful that I'm not practicing medicine over the airways here, but those are generally, so Clomid, HCG, and anastrozole, depending upon which method you want to use to block estrogen. So anastrozole versus Clomid, you use Clomid alone, you could use HCG with Clomid or with anastrozole. Again, you could continue TRT and just see if that works for you, and depending upon your patience and the timeline. It's only going to get worse the longer you're on TRT, presumably.
Right.
The likelihood of it being a shorter time frame in which you become fertile again.
Right.
As well as your age. So at some point you're going to say, okay, well, let's just get this over with. But why you don't have to necessarily jump off of TRT to get pregnant. That's, I guess, the take home I want to leave
I'm sure I'll be glad to hear you answer. That's awesome.
Well, it's at least worth a try. I don't know what his timeline is, but again, no need for fingers crossed, and so I'll knock on wood anyway and keep your fingers crossed, I guess. But I've never seen it be an issue. So go for it, Curtis from Canada. I send me a note when you get her pregnant, please.
Awesome. A basket maybe. All right. Thanks, Doc.